So the last time I did a tour of my grading suite was in September 2022, and quite a lot has changed since. So I thought moving forward for 2025, it's about time I showed you the new kit that I've got. I'm going to show you all the old kit as well. So I'm going to show you every single piece of equipment that I've got in here, literally down to the last cable tie. And I'm going to split it into a few different sections. So I'm going to start off with the main kit that I've got to actually have a broadcast grading suite. I'm then going to look at things like the furniture. We're then going to look at the extra little bits that just help me but are not essential, so things like the Stream Deck and stuff like that. And then I'm also going to do a little section where I'm just going to show you what I use to make my YouTube channel. So for those who are content creators, you might want to have a look at the kit that I've got. So hopefully there's something here for everyone. I've got my good friend Jason with me, who's operating a camera for me, because it's a lot easier when you're doing these sort of things to have someone doing it for you. There's a lot of it, so I'll try and get through this as quick as I can. So I just wanted to show you the suite under proper grading conditions. So the blackout blinds are down, the house lights are off, the reference monitor and the client monitor both have specific media bias lighting on them. I'm going to list all this stuff somewhere in the video so you can see exactly what make and model it is. And I've got a media bias lighting desk lamp as well, just to give me a little bit of ambient light. We don't need to work in complete darkness. Now, when I'm showing you the studio tour, we need some lights. I'm going to put the blackout blinds up, they can start going up. And we're going to switch all the lights back on so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So let's put the lights on, Jace. I'm going to just switch these off just to keep my monitors good. So let's first take a look at the computers and storage that I've got, and then I'm going to show you how it's all connected together. So what I've got down here is a Mac Pro 2019. This is the first of two Macs that I'm using. This is connected via Thunderbolt 3 to a Promise RAID. So this is giving me about 40, 50 terabytes. I can't remember exactly how much. But this machine is now a dedicated machine. It's a backup machine, should I need a backup during a grade, but it also runs my Omniscopes, and I'm going to show you how that's connected later. So this year I updated the main machine that I grade on now, and what we've got is a M2 Ultra Studio. This is the 128 gig version, and the main reason for doing that is obviously advancements with the silicon chips. This is still running on Intel. I wanted to make sure that we are future-proofing. It seems DaVinci Resolve is running absolutely fantastic on these systems. This is connected via 10 gigabit Ethernet to a rack mount, which is down the back here, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And this has its own storage attached to it as well. So everything is networked via 10 gig. So I can access, this machine can access that RAID, and that machine can access that RAID. And let's go and take a look what I've got down the back. So hidden away behind the desk is this rack mount unit. In here, I've got a Netgear 10 gigabit Ethernet switch. This is really the glue that's holding all the suite together. I've got my Mac Ultra Studio plugged into it. I've got my Mac Pro 2019 plugged into it. And I've also got this, which is the latest addition to my suite. This is the Blackmagic CloudStorm Max 24 terabyte SSD rack mount storage. This is fantastic. I wanted to get off my spinning disks, so the Promise Pegasus RAID that you're seeing down there. I wanted to get SSDs in here. This is what I've gone for. It's absolutely fantastic. But this is really future-proofing the suite, because this is allowing me to work in the cloud and do cloud collaboration. And we're going to be doing another episode on that in some detail. I've also got an Ultra Studio 4K. This is being fed from the main I/O box, which we're going to look at. This is linked to the Mac Pro 2019, which feeds my Omniscopes. So how I get my signal to the scopes is via this unit here. So you'll also notice the rack mount is precariously balanced on the top of two UPS systems. So if the power goes down, I've got enough time to just have the computers and the storage powered down safely. On here, I've just got a really cheap monitor with a HDMI input. This allows me to read the data off the Blackmagic CloudStorm Max system that I've got down here. And when I'm doing live streams and things like that, I also connect the output of my A10 Mini Pro to it, so I can see all the different inputs that I've got going on. So that's just a really cheap rubbish monitor. So the I/O box I'm using is the Ultra Studio 4K Extreme. So this is being fed from the M2 Studio Ultra, giving me a true signal out of my Resolve interface to the I/O box, which allows me to feed correctly from this via SDI into the Flanders Scientific monitor, which we'll come to in a moment. This is also feeding my client monitor, and it's also feeding the Ultra Studio 4K that you saw earlier, which feeds the scopes. So just to clarify, M2 Studio Ultra, DaVinci Resolve out into here via Thunderbolt. This then feeds my client monitor, my grading monitor, and my scopes. So my favorite update to the studio this year is without doubt the Flanders Scientific XMP310. So before I was only capable of doing SDR monitoring, I've now got true HDR grading up to 1000 nits. And obviously I've got my settings in here as well. So if I want to switch between HDR and SDR, simple flick of a switch here. I've got it calibrated as well to that's Gamma 2.2. That's Gamma 2.4. You probably hear me talking about that a lot on YouTube. 2.2 for the web, 2.4 for broadcast. Flick of a switch. Into HDR, another flick of the switch. I just love this monitor. I've done a whole episode on how it works. That'll be linked up here somewhere. The other monitor that you're looking at, that's a Panasonic GZ2000. This is getting a little bit old now. I might update this one soon. But this is being fed by HDMI from the Ultra Studio Extreme, but this one's being fed SDI. So it's absolutely fantastic grading monitor. I'm just love it. I've been using it for months now. So I'll just tell you about these two displays while I'm here. This is the main GUI that I use. I only use one display for the GUI. This is the Mac Studio display. I think it's the 27-inch one with the nano texture screen. And then this one is a Dell Ultra Wide. I think it's a 32. Whatever it is, it's far too big for scopes, but I've just got used to using it. I really like it, and it makes a really nice backdrop for when I'm doing my YouTubes, if anything. So, so that's staying in the room now. And as some of you know, I love playing my music when I'm color grading. I've got the Genelec 3040As up here. Absolutely fantastic sound. I absolutely adore these speakers, and a couple of acoustic boards behind each one. So I'm clearly using the advanced panel. This is connected via USB to a little hub I've got down here, which we'll come to in a moment. I absolutely love this panel. I bought this about 13 or 14 years ago. They didn't have the micro or the mini panel then. You had to use a third-party one. I started off in a little tangent wave, but invested in this and have no regrets. When I'm doing long days grading, so I'm doing documentary work, I've got a director behind me, one button press for most functions on here, and it's just, I'm not sort of hunched over. It makes the grading a really nice experience. So I love my panel. This updates as the software updates as well, because they just update the firmware. So it's still going strong after 14 years. So let's take a look at what else I've got going on the desk. You might notice that in most of my episodes, and all the time while I've been doing this probably, I hold a pen. I don't even realize I'm holding it most of the time, to be honest. But this is my tablet and pen. Now I'm using Zensi Labs. I used to use Wacom, but I've discovered this and it's fantastic. I love it. This is the medium tablet and pen, and this is basically replacing my mouse. But the beauty of this is, instead of grabbing a mouse, moving it and using it and then putting it down, I keep this in my hand all the time. And when I'm grading, I can quite happily just grade like this, and then I go and use my tablet and pen whenever I need. And it's also got this little quick keys adapter as well. So this is fully programmable. And I've got this rotation thing here set to, I can zoom in and out on here. Then I can press one button, reset it back to where I want it. So this is great to just have on the desk. This is connected via USB. So I've got a USB hub down the back here. On here, I've got my Stream Deck, I've got the advanced panel, I've got a DaVinci Resolve dongle in there, and I've got something else which I don't know what it is. But this is switchable between the two Macs. So whichever Mac I'm on, I've always got the tablet and pen, I've always got the Stream Deck, and that's all that's for really, so it's just a switch. So this lamp here is fantastic for when I'm grading. It just spreads a little bit of light, but it's critical D65 lighting. This is by Medialight. It's called Ideal Lume Pro or something similar to that. And the real thing I like with this, it's got a rotational hood, so I can direct the light exactly where I want it to be. Flexible neck, but also you can dial it down to 2% brightness. So it's really nice for just have a very slight bit of ambient light in the grading session. This is my Stream Deck. This is the Stream Deck XL. I've got this programmed exactly how I want it. And basically it's got my OBS settings, so when I'm doing live streams, it's got my DaVinci Resolve settings that I want on there. It's got Zoom, I can mute Zoom calls. It's got a little clock in here. What's nice with this little clock is it's really tiny, and you can actually keep an eye on the time without your client realizing you're actually looking at the time. That's probably my favourite widget that's on there. I've got it to do open my email, all sorts of stuff going on there. It controls my Omniscopes, and I can also control the settings on the Flanders XMP310, all from this little unit. So it's the Stream Deck XL, connected via USB to the hub. And what else have we got going on here? I've got an iPad here, so I use this just for discreetly looking at emails if I need to, but sometimes I'll actually take the feed out of DaVinci Resolve onto there just to see what it's looking like, not on my Flanders, but on an iPad. This little unit here is connected via USB. It's a wireless charger, so I've currently got my AirPods on the back of it. I can stick my phone on it like that. And the beauty of this is when I'm recording my YouTubes is I have the feed coming out of my A7S III to a little app that's in here, and I can monitor the view, and also it tells me that it's actually recording. Believe me, there's nothing worse than recording a whole YouTube episode and you've not been recording. This unit here is a Focusrite Scarlett Solo. This is allowing me to take an XLR connection from a microphone. So the mic I use for my YouTubes is the Sennheiser 416, and XLR straight into that box, and that is a simple USB connection to my Mac. So when I'm recording my voice, this is kind of the preamp. So the sound mixer I've got here, it's probably older than you, Jason. This is my Spirit Folio. I've had it about 30 years. This was my original editing sound desk. It's far too big for the desk, but I love the sound out of it. I've bought smaller ones. This is just a volume for the Genelex. It's real overkill for what I need. I bought these little mini ones, and I just can't get them sounding as good as that. I don't know if it's, I'm a colorist, I guess. I'm not an audio engineer. I love it. It's too big. It's so old, it actually says on there, it's got Avid left and Avid right, which was my original editing system, but it says CD next to that, and then it even says VHS. So I used to actually play VHS through this. And hiding on the back there, I've got a CalDigit Thunderbolt hub. So it's connected to the Mac, and this gives me different types of connectivity, so I can quickly add a USB-C drive. So a client comes to me with a USB-C drive, I can plug it straight into that. In fact, I can plug that now straight into the Blackmagic Cloud Store Max, which I'm looking forward to doing. But it just gives me some extra connectivity. I can put SD cards in it. It's great. So, but I bought a decent one. The cheap ones I find they either break really quick or they're really slow. I don't know what experience you've got, Jace, but I think you buy a bit more expensive than the cheap ones. I think that's about it. Just before I forget, I've also got the Blackmagic Speed Editor. If I stretch over here, so this is my little edit workhorse. I love this. Connected via Bluetooth, and you just charge it up with a little USB adapter. But I've done a whole episode on speed editors. In fact, I've done quite a few episodes on speed editor, but love this. This just sits there and I just grab it when I need it. Okay, next to the 416 is a little camera. This is my vlogging camera that I take out when I'm out and about, but it also doubles up as a really nice webcam. So to give me nice quality when I'm doing my masterclasses or when I'm doing Zoom training, this camera just gives me a much better quality than the camera on the studio display. I've got that feeding out via mini HDMI, and it goes into this thing, which is, I'm going to find it, bear with me, this thing. So that takes full-size HDMI in, USB-C this end, plug it straight into the front of my Mac, and that just gives me a nice feed straight out of that camera into that. So this is by Pengo. Brilliant little thing. Just plug and play. So I think that's about it. I've got a few bits and pieces on here. So what have I got? I've got eye drops. Seriously, eye drops, really good for long grading sessions. I've got a few remote controls for the various lights. There's a remote for the media bias lighting, which is on the back of here. So that's just an LED strip. I don't think Jason's going to fit behind there to film. I've got a Resolve dongle up there. I've got a little one of these things. I've got loads of this stuff, but that's like USB-C to USB old, whatever that's called, A. So that's just some bits and pieces on there. And just before I forget, the keyboard I'm using is this. It's the Logitech MX Keys. I did a whole episode on which is the best keyboard in 2022, I think it was. But this came out the winner. I'm still using it now. Lots of people said to me, I bet you that's not working in 12 months' time. This has been well used in those few years, so I love this keyboard. Really nice tactile feel. What I love about it when you're in the grade and you're in dark conditions, as your hands go over it, it just lights up really gently so you can see your keys a little bit better. The other thing I like about it is it saves me having two keyboards on the desk. Obviously I've got two main machines that I'm working with a lot. I can just switch between them. You've got 1, 2, 3 different function buttons here. So one could be my iPad or my phone. One of them is the Mac Pro 2019, and the other one is my Mac M2 Ultra Studio. So just flicking those, I'm flicking between the two completely different computers. So what I love about here, I've got as minimalist as I can get on here. Only one Stream Deck, but it's connected to two machines, all via that little USB hub. The USB hub, by the way, is by Ugreen. Might as well give them a plug. I think it's about 50p. It's been working for years. So let's look at the furniture. This desk is from AKA Design. I've got AKA Design desks downstairs as well. So I've got the media desk downstairs. This one is actually an audio desk. And the reason I got an audio one is because it's massive. And I love having a lot of space when I'm working. The advanced panel is bigger than you think. In fact, I've got measuring tape here. So the advanced panel is, if I can actually read this, is about 120 odd centimeters wide. So just to keep this into perspective, this desk is actually, I've not even got enough measuring tape, hang on, that's 150, still a bit, Jace, give me a hand. Well, let's call it, it's just over 3 meters. That's my technical measurement. So loads of space on this desk, but the other beauty of it is it's got these 19-inch rack mount sides. So it's great for storing the computer and my storage. Also on this side, I've got a 19-inch rack mount fridge. This fridge is actually older than that sound desk, but still keeping my drinks nice and cold for my clients. So we've got water in there, Cokes, there's Red Bull, I think there's a cheeky gin and tonic in there somewhere, and I think that's your lunch in there, Jason, if you could get rid of that before we finish. And we've also got up here another little tabletop 19-inch rack mount. So that's obviously holding my Ultra Studio 4K Extreme that we saw earlier. Little blanking plate in there. Behind that, I've got some HDMI routers and switches. I've got my broadband box. So yeah, that's all. It's just, everything's just clean and tidy. So the chair, this is a Herman Miller Aeron chair, industry standard stuff, beautiful to sit on all day, great lumbar support, lots of different positions you can put it in. I tend to sit with it quite a lot forward, which stops me slouching. We've normally got 2 of these in the suite. We've taken one out just to film today, so we've got a bit more room. But if the director or DP or whoever wants to come up front and look at it on the reference monitor, they can do so. Now, normally I'd put people off doing that because unless the viewing angle is straight on, you're not going to see the grade perfectly. But with the XMP310, the viewing angle on here is insane. So I'm quite happy people sit up the front. I would rather they sit at the back, to be honest. But if they want to come and sit at the front, they can. So that's the chairs. This is a, what do you call it? A stand-up, sit-down desk. This is the E7 Pro from FlexiSpot. Absolutely solid bit of kit. This is it. You can put, I can't remember how many kilos you can put on it. You could literally stand on there, Jace, no problem. The nice thing with it, in its lowest position, it goes down really low. So it actually looks like quite an incidental table to the client. So they can rest stuff on here really easily. But when I want to work on it, sometimes it's really nice to get away from the suite, stand up and do some work. So I'll just press this button here and listen how quiet this is. It's really quiet. I've got this pre-programmed into the height that I want it to go, and this allows me to do work emails if I'm working on my masterclasses or training, things like that. I prefer to be stood up here than sat down there all day. So I've got a Mac system on here running Resolve. It's running on the 2013 Mac trash can one. I use this for testing beta builds and things like that just to see if it's stable, although I think the operating system can't be updated on this much longer, so I don't know how much life that's got left. But to cover that, just to do my admin, and when I'm on the road, I've got this, the MacBook Pro. This is the new M4 Max. So I've only just got this. It's the 14-inch version. So when I'm on the road, this is absolutely fantastic to take. So I've got DaVinci Resolve loaded on it, and it's going to run at really good speed. This is on a little adjustable height thing. I also use that for my live stream, so it runs over there next to my suite. Talking of suites, the suites for the clients here. We've got a little model of my advanced panel here. So this is just stuff. I've got my Premiere Pro floppy disks from 1993. Bit of fruit, biscuits, scented candles, all that sort of stuff is here. So clients just do what they want. And yeah, that's this corner. Okay, let's look at the YouTube setup. Now this is a working broadcast grading facility, so I don't want it to look like a small TV studio, but after 4 years on YouTube, I have casually accumulated far more kit than I need. In fact, Jason, you saw the edit suite downstairs. It looks like, what, an Amazon warehouse. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I try and keep everything neat and tidy. I don't want clients coming in here going, what is all this? Obviously the aperture light, which we'll look at in a minute, is massive, so that does stay here. Lots of stuff in cupboards, but I've got a little bit of stuff out here that I use fairly regularly. So here I've got my camera selection. So the camera that I film my main shot on YouTube is a Sony a7S III, and on there I've got a 35mm prime. It's not the G Master, but it is a fixed prime 35mm Sony. I've got another couple of lenses in there as well. I've got a Tamron, what's that, 17 to 28, and I've got a couple of vintage Nikon lenses in there as well with a little adapter I've got on there, so I like this. I've got my Fuji X-T100 in there for stills photography. That's nothing to do with YouTube, that's just something that I am passionate about. Moving over here, I have got DJI microphones. These are fantastic. I've got the, what's this called, Pocket Osmo 3. So this is like a gimbal. This is great for vlogging. Mr. Alex Tech got me on these. I went to Vegas last year with a lot more kit than he had. He kept putting this out of his pocket. I went out and bought one, they're great. So that syncs with the mics really easily. I've got my drone in the background there as well. So I've got my DJI Mini 3, which I think I've used twice. So if anyone wants to buy a drone, let me know. Right, down here, I have got a teleprompter. This is from Elgato. This is fantastic. It is Elgato Prompt, I think it's called. It sits on the front of the a7S III with a little adapter on the back. And you've got a USB socket on the back. You plug that directly into your Mac and it then acts as a second screen. Now, I don't use Prompt for my YouTube episodes. I use this when I'm doing live streams, masterclasses, Zoom training, because I can project anything I want on here. So for example, if I'm doing a live stream, I want to just see the comments. And without looking down at a laptop all the time, it's really nice to be able to look straight in the screen and I can see all the comments going. So that's what I use it for, but I know people who use it as a prompt as well. It does voice activation, all that sort of stuff. Fantastic bit of kit. So that's the Elgato Prompt. What else have I got in here? Moisturizer, Bulldog moisturizer. This is all my vanity stuff in here now. So a little bit of hair gel, just in case, for those last minute YouTube ideas. Just gel my hair back. Oh, and here I've got glasses cleaner. Okay, but this is what I clean my screens with. So this is what I clean my actual Flanders XMP310 with. It is made by Flanders FSI. It's LCD and OLED screen cleaning kit. This stuff is great. And the wall behind me here, this is paneling from a company called the Wood Veneer Hub, but this is acoustically treated. So it just gives me a little bit of sound damping in the room when I'm creating YouTube videos. Just helps with the sound. I've got 4 more acoustic panels around the room as well. It's not ideal. I don't want the room to be soundproof, but it just helps a little bit. So to keep me looking fresh and professional for you all on my YouTube episodes, we've got this light here. This is the Aperture 120D. Fantastic light. I can control it with the remote as well. So just for a record, I can switch that on. And it's got this softbox on it, which is the Light Dome SE, also from Aperture. And this just sits in the corner all the time. It's far too big to take in and out, but it is kind of tucked away. And lastly, I've got this little tripod here. This is normally packed away, but I just bring it out when I'm doing my YouTube episodes. Newer N284. It's not great, it does the job. But my A7S III sits on there quite happily, and that's that. So I hope you've enjoyed this in-depth look at every single piece of equipment I've got in my grading suite. Please remember, I've built this stuff over years. I've been in this room for 15 years. I've had this for about 14 years. I've not just gone out overnight and bought all this kit. So if you're starting out now, just get the best monitor that you can afford, get a half-decent computer, and just start building it up over time. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Ooh. I mean,
This is the
that's what works on
bloody stuff YouTubers have to do to get a thumbnail.
Fuck, it's so much stuff.
Are you serious?
There you go.
And also, while I'm here, I might as well show you the speakers that I've got going on. Obviously, I don't need speakers for grading. No, that's bullshit. You need to play back the actual film with the client in it. So I think that's about it. There's a couple of little bits and pieces lying around on the desk. I've got my window key. I've got... So let's take a look at the furniture. Have I spoke about the desk? I can't remember now. I've spoken about so many things. I'll cover the desk just in case I haven't covered it. And if I have, you're going to see it twice. So I just want to show you one more thing over here. There's normally 2 of these in here. We've taken one out for filming. It's not gone filming, sorry. We've taken it out so we can film. The chair, for Christ's sake.